Okay, welcome back guys. Tip of the day for today is glove density for your practice. Whatever martial art you're practicing, if you're getting punched in the face, you've really got to make sure, I'm going to get my wife in a moment and have her punch me in the face with these 4 gloves so that you can see firsthand the difference between different densities. But essentially, if we take these 2 to begin with, so these are both 16-ounce boxing gloves, okay? Now, I don't know if you'd be able to really tell on the camera by me just squeezing it, but that's quite hard. The padding in that is quite firm, okay? Whereas the padding in this one, it's a lot more squishy, okay? So it's less dense. So that's a good thing and a bad thing, okay? Same goes for these MMA style gloves. This one is a lot more squishy than this one. This is a lot more dense. It might actually, well, it is, I would say arguably it's a tiny bit thinner as well. This is actually a little bit thicker, the padding on it, but it's much more compact. It's much more dense compared to this is much squishier. So knowing which density to use, there's not one answer because it depends on how you want to train. If you get punched softly or moderately with one of these gloves, you want the low density one, because the low density one will spread the power out. It'll mold around your face more. So it won't, for example, using your nose as the main example, it won't punch right on your nose. The padding, your nose will squish into the padding and you'll actually spread the power out over your cheekbones and wherever else. Hello, Clara. What are you doing? Whereas the dense padding one, it's hard. The padding is hard. So you'll feel the pressure much more striking you directly on the nose. Same goes for the smaller gloves. However, if you want to punch each other full power, like as hard as you possibly can, the low density glove, naturally, because it's softer, it will compress all the way more easily than the high density glove. So if it compresses, once you get your glove to compress all the way down, so that padding is as squished up as it can possibly be, then you're no longer getting hit with a soft glove. You're now getting hit with knuckles with that much padding on the end of it. If you were to take, for example, an MMA glove, I don't know where my MMA gloves are, they're somewhere. You know, normal MMA, those are MMA sparring gloves, okay? So they're thicker ones. I'm talking about a normal MMA glove, the 4-ounce ones with just a tiny bit of padding over the knuckles. You know what they are. If you get punched on the nose with one of those, just this sort of pressure, not too much, just a bop like that, it's horrible. It's not that much difference than getting hit with a knuckle. There is still a difference, but not a huge difference. Get punched in the nose with that big red glove, and you're like, pretty much fine. Under that sort of pressure, it doesn't hurt at all. There's nowhere near close to breaking your nose or anything like that. However, they've done tests on this. If you punch something with absolute, like a big guy who can, a big boxer who can hit really, really hard, then the difference in the pressure and power transferred into the object between the MMA glove and the 16-ounce glove is hardly nothing. There's barely no difference in how much damage was done to the object with the big glove versus the small glove. Because under that amount of pressure, the big glove is being compressed all the way down to what is hardly no more padding than what the MMA glove is. Whereas the MMA glove, because it's such dense padding, it barely gets compressed. So it goes from this big to this big, whereas the big glove goes from this big down to this big because it's a softer padding. So you need to work out what type of training you're doing. Most people spar without full contact, unless you're like full on getting ready for a tournament and you want to know what it's going to be like in the tournament. Then, of course, you need to do a few sessions full contact. If you've never done full contact before and you jump into the ring, the first hit, you're going to go down because you're not used to it. So, of course, then you'd need to train full contact. Then you might want to get a denser glove so that you're protected. Having said that, even that red glove, the Sting versus the Morgan, you'd have to hit pretty damn hard to compress that all the way, because it is a big glove. Even though it's squishy, it's a big glove. It's 16 ounces. Another way you can test this, you can literally punch something solid. You punch the ground, punch the concrete, for example. And you can say to yourself, okay, how hard do I have to hit until I feel my knuckles hit the ground? You go bop and you feel, oh yeah, boing, it's like springy. It's got that suspension, that cushion. You'll get to a certain point where you'll hit and you'll feel your knuckles almost hitting the concrete. So you say, okay, so that's the limit of this glove. Take a denser glove and you'll find that limit is higher. However, that doesn't mean you can't punch any harder than that. Because remember, someone's head moves. For starters, 9 times out of 10, if you throw a punch straight into my face or around, hook shot into my jaw or whatever, chances are just at the last split second before that hits, I'm going to at least slightly be going with the punch, right? It's not like it's going to hit me straight on. I'd have to have my eyes closed for that to happen. So, I mean, I'm still going to take a heavy punch, but just at the last minute, I'm going to sort of go with it. So, now, I'm not saying that will always be the case. I've done it myself where, I've taken a punch there and gone boom, sort of gone with it. It's been okay. And then I've done the other guy got the perfect shot on where I've stepped in for a punch and just as I've gone in, he's thrown his punch. So I've literally walked into the strike, in which case that's when you get that maximum force. But even then, you're still not getting the same kind of maximum force that you're getting with the concrete. Because even if I move into it, still, when you hit my face, there's still going to be some give to my head. In order to fully compress that glove at the same level as the concrete, my head has to not move at all in order to compress the glove. So what I'm saying is the pressure at which you get to punching the concrete gives you a rough idea. It tells you that, yeah, this glove can't take as much as this glove, but still, the amount of pressure that you can take on a human head, because the head moves, it's unlikely, even under full contact, that you're going to fully compress that big glove. However, having said that, that's still a good glove. It's soft. It's soft enough that if I take a punch straight in the face, it doesn't hurt. If you're not used to it, of course, it's going to stun and shock you. But if you're used to it, it doesn't physically hurt my nose that much. I mean, okay, it hurts. There's a bit of pain there, but not like so much that I feel like I need to stop. If I get punched with the white and blue glove, that really hurts. It really smashes my nose up. It's not comfortable. I don't enjoy sparring. Oh, God, that was horrible. I'm going to take a break, I'm just not that tough. However, I've tried out, I don't have them with me today, but I had this other little set of gloves, these karate mitts they're called. They're sort of closer to an MMA style, but they've got big thick padding on them, but very soft. The least dense padding I've used on any glove. I tried them out with my training partner, and he's punched me in the face, and it felt like I got punched with a knuckle. It felt pretty similar to a thin 4-ounce MMA glove. That's what it felt like getting hit with. When he just hit me, just that much pressure, just very, very light kind of pressure like that, boom, boom. It was like getting a face massage because that was so soft. So of course, if you've got, kids and they're just getting used to it and they're only hitting each other this sort of pressure, well, that's fine. That's the best thing for them because they can have some fun and without getting busted noses and no one's going to get hurt. Or if you've got older students, maybe you've got some old people, old age pensioners and stuff. They want to learn a little bit about the self-defense, but they're old, they got, their bodies are weaker. They can't take punches on the nose. So those light little cushions, that'll enable them to do a little bit more realistic training rather than wearing nothing and having to pull your shot, which is not very realistic. So they can do that training, but at the same time, they're not going to be getting hurt. However, you take that much pressure, just to that much pressure, which is still not very hard, and that glove is going to completely compress and then they're getting punched with a knuckle. So this is the thing you have to be careful of. So you've got to choose the glove density that works for the level of pressure that you're playing around with. All right, I'll get my wife in now, just to show you, just as an example. I mean, I haven't got 20 different gloves here, but just to show you the difference between two different types of boxing gloves and two different types of MMA gloves. Okay, so got the wife out, and she's going to punch me with the 4 different gloves. Just so you can see how much pressure I'm going to take each glove up until the point where I feel like, oh, that's, you know, it's getting uncomfortable. Not to the point it's going to break my nose or anything, but just like, yeah, that's okay. Oh, that's a bit uncomfortable, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to get her to punch me straight on the nose. Otherwise, after 4 gloves, I'm going to have a problem breathing later. I'm just going to get her to punch me right between the eyes there. So I'm going to get, my nose is going to get hit, but right here. So it's the most common place you get hit. Okay, because it's very unlikely, well, in my experience anyway, I don't often get punched straight on the nose because chances are you're normally a little bit tucked anyway when you're fighting. So when the jab comes through, it's more than likely hitting you here, not like square on the nose. You will get caught out there sometimes, but it's usually if you've made a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to get Fran to hit me several times, softly, and just gradually building up that pressure until I sort of say, oh yeah, that's getting a bit uncomfortable. And then we'll show with the different gloves. So. Come on. Yeah, that last one, you know, it's not, as I say, not painful or anything, but it's to the point where it's like, you know, that's already there. You see, that punch, that was like nothing compared to your last punch with that one. That was already hurting my head, both my nose, my forehead, the amount of shock through the body, the amount of kink in the neck, all of that sort of stuff. Everything that goes on when you get hit, that was already, after her second punch, that was the same pressure as, I don't know, your 10th punch or something, and she was gradually increasing that power all the way through. So you can see the big difference there. I'll do it one more time with this one, so soft again and gradually build up. Yeah, see, that's already like right in the face, quite uncomfortable. We'll go the red one again. So that's still actually okay. The big difference is, what you'll notice is it's not just, well, one big difference is the nose thing. This one spreads out. When that hits, sometimes she's hitting me obviously a little bit more on the forehead, which is fine. Other times when she's getting my nose in there, you can see it molds around my nose, so I'm not feeling much pressure on my nose. Whereas that one, even when she hits me on the forehead, it's uncomfortable, but especially when she actually hits the bridge of my nose, it's uncomfortable. And it's, I don't know, probably 1/3 or 1/4 of the amount of power compared to what these ones can actually take. The other thing that I'm really feeling there is the denser glove. See, what we're trying to achieve with a glove is A, take away the superficial damage, but also slow down the acceleration rate that your head moves. When your head gets hit in any situation, it moves, right? It moves backwards. So what happens then? Your brain is in liquid, yeah? You should probably know this already. When your brain moves, it's like carrying a water bucket. If you've got a water bucket full of water, if you try to move it very quickly, what happens? The water spills out, because the water doesn't move as fast as you move the bucket, because it's loose. If you do it slowly and gradually bring it up to speed, there's no problem. So that's what's happening here. When I get hit with the dense glove, because the padding doesn't compress much, my head goes from stationary, let's just pick a number, let's say her punch is moving at, I don't know, 30 miles an hour or something. I don't know what speed the punch is moving at. Let's just use that as a number. So let's say her punch is moving at 30 miles an hour and my head is stationary. So my head's going from 0 to 30 miles an hour, boom, like quite quickly. When she's hitting me with the soft glove, that glove hits my head, but then it compresses before the head starts to move. It's like the reverse concept of a crumple zone in a car. If you don't have a crumple zone and you hit a wall, boom, you go from 60 miles an hour to stopped instantly and you die. When you have a crumple zone, you slow down gradually because of that crumple zone. So it's the same concept, but in reverse. She's going to cause my head to accelerate. The faster she can make my head accelerate, the more likely she knocks me out. I'm just talking about a normal straight up punch in the face, not getting knocked out from a certain point or something, just a shock to the head factor. So this is why the squishier glove is better in this case. But like I said, if she punched me, like if she was a heavyweight and punched me with that, if Mike Tyson was going to punch me, I'd tell him to put that glove on. Not that one, if he's going to punch me as hard as he could. I'd much rather get hit by that, because that one will compress all the way if Mike hit me, and then I'm going to get hit by basically no padding at all. Okay, so moving on to the MMA gloves, same concept. This is the soft one, that's the dense one. Okay, that one there, by the way, is an actual amateur MMA fighting glove. That's what you would use if you were in a ring in an amateur competition. So it's the 6 or 7 ounce versus the 4 ounce, which the professionals, the pro fighters, use. So if you're going to actually go into ring fighting, you'd want to get used to getting hit with that and not just getting hit by this nice little cushion. But for general sparring, just working on your technique, better to get hit by this, because then you don't end up with a headache at the end of the day. So same concept. Obviously, we won't be able to go with either one of these gloves. We will not be able to go as hard as the big ones because they're smaller gloves. So same thing with the small glove. Okay. Yeah, that got to the point there where it's, you know, getting a little bit uncomfortable. And I was just starting, with that small glove at that pressure, I was just starting to feel like a full compression on the glove. So harder than that might start to feel like the glove's fully compressed, because that's, you know, that's only got that much. It's not got a lot of pressure. Okay, so now we're going to use the amateur MMA competition sized glove. Much denser. It'll probably hurt more. Yeah, that's already, that pressure there, it's not, as I say, it's not terrible, but rather than me going up to the point where I'm getting my head knocked off every time, that pressure was the same amount of shock factor and pain and whatever that went through my head as her the hardest punches she was doing with the smaller white MMA style glove. We'll just do a couple more with that one because we didn't do many, so again, soft. Yeah, that's already, I can already feel like that's uncomfortable. And so if that were heavier, that would really start to ring my head kind of thing. So as I say, any one of those gloves, you could certainly take a hell of a lot more pressure than I've just took there. When I'm sparring with one of my male students, or even if I'm sparring with Fran, I'll let her hit me a lot harder than that. But just because I'm standing here, sitting here, taking punch, punch, punch right in the face, you don't need to get hit full force or even hard to see which glove will suit your environment of training. So I can tell just by that light pressure that for general light to moderate sparring, the white glove is going to be way more comfortable and leave me feeling better at the end of the session. I won't have a headache at the end of the session. Whereas that glove, I know I'll have a headache at the end of the session. And same goes for the other two. The red one is a lot softer. I feel like I can take those punches, and that's what I do. That's the one that I typically use when I'm sparring with especially with my male partners. Whereas the white one, under that light pressure, it's going to give me a ringing headache at the end of the day. And if I do take a straight shot right on the nose, it's going to really bust my nose up comparatively to the red one. So thank you, my dear. And I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's given you some ideas as to choosing the right type of glove for the pressure at which you like to train at. If you like to train really heavy, you're probably going to want a denser glove. If you train light to moderate, just good sort of pressure, you're probably going to want a less dense glove. Thank you very much, and see you next time.